It's just a fanfiction, a story written by me, your writer. This has nothing to do with mentioned idol, BTS members, real life event, behavior, or characteristics. Pics, sounds, videos, wizard used in this video are not mine. Credit goes to rightful owners. But the editing and storyline is mine. Do not copy it. This is kind of dark story and have mentioned of sensitive topics. Read this at your own risk. You have been warned beforehand. A man in his late 20s named Taehyung was wearing his blazer while looking into the mirror. Through the mirror, he saw his wife, Wayne, laying on the bed. Her whole body was covered with duvet, only her head was out. Her eyes were closed, indicating she is asleep. He sighed softly, seeing this. He knew she was pretending to be asleep just to avoid him, because that was not how she sleeps. While sleeping, her eyelids became more relaxed, and she curled up a little while hugging the pillow, putting her whole weight on it. There was a time you were had that safe pillow, spoke a voice inside his head, while he closed his eyes and opened them again. He cleared his throat, then spoke loud and clear. Today I won't be able to come home at night. We have important meetings. All bodyguards will be here, outside our mansion. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Saying this, he went towards her and bent down to kiss her forehead. But she immediately pressed her face more into the pillow, preventing him from doing so. It would be a lie if he said her this behavior didn't hurt him. He shied and kissed her hairs instead, then went out mumbling a small take care. Once she heard the sound of closing the door, she turned around and opened her eyes. Shying, she sat up on the bed and rested her head on the headboard. She was blankly looking at her front. Wayne and Taehyung met each other almost 4 years ago. She was doing her postgraduate in nursing back then. That time he happened to go to hospital where she studied to see his friend who was admitted there, but he mistakenly went to room where she was presenting her research paper to her professor. Their first meeting was chaotic because he accidentally disturbed the whole class. Little did he know, along with the class, he also disturbed his own feelings. Fortunately, hers too. Their eyes met each other and they both were attracted to each other on that first sight. After a week, Taeyang came to hospital again, but neither his known one was admitted there, nor he needed checkup. He went there to ask the girl out with whom he was attracted. He wanted to know her, to go on a date with her, and if luck was on his side, then to go on dates with her. He felt satisfied when his feelings and actions towards her were fully reciprocated by her. They started to go on dates, started to know each other's choices. Soon they fell in love. Her parents also liked him, despite being an orphan. Him being a well established businessman worked on his favor. They dated each other for more than 2.5 years. Then they got married. She back then thought, what a weird couple they made. A businessman with a nurse. Little did she know his business were now were close to normal. His business was just a facade to cover up his true identity, his identity of being a mafia boss and his illegal activities. He was doing well in hiding everything from his wife and his in laws. But alas, he couldn't hide it long from his wife. Almost 8 months back, she accidentally heard his conversation with his assistant, also saw his gun. That time she couldn't grasp that should she be declared smart to understand his conversation and found out about his illegal activities or consider herself dumb for letting him fool her for more than 3 years. That day, more than being afraid of him, after knowing his true identity, she felt humiliated, betrayed, deceived. She felt like the house, the home she was making with utmost love, honesty, care with her husband was nothing but a house of cards, which base was filled with venomous lies. She confronted him that time. First, he denied her words and told her she was misunderstanding. But when she pushed more while telling him about his gun and more things, being frustrated, he confessed. He confessed him being a mafia, also that it's his family business. This was how everything happening in his family from generation to generation. He also confessed his parents didn't pass away because of an accident. They passed away due to gang war. During that heated moment, he also confessed how he took revenge from his parents' murderers. He told her he didn't want her to get tangled in his illegal activities. He didn't want her to read Omartha because he knew this would hurt her a lot. That's why he had hidden everything from her. He didn't want to let go of her either after knowing her feelings for her. After knowing everything, she just told him, I don't want to stay with you anymore, neither do I trust you now, nor do I consider you worthy enough of my honesty anymore. Her that sentence created havoc inside him. He couldn't help but had shown her his dark, cold side, just so she would drop the idea of leaving him. But instead of taming her, his that words led numerous arguments between them. In these 8 months, those heated arguments ended up either him sleeping in his office or both of them willingly tangled under the bed sheets in their suit. Every time after sleeping with him, her exact words were, This can't stop me from getting divorced from you. And his exact words were, Hell if I let you do so. Almost 5 months back, she left her job, a job, security, money, independence, which were too much dear to her, just because she couldn't able to look into anyone's eyes knowing her husband was into illegal activities. It successfully shattered her soul. He knew it's taking a toll on her mental health, but he was too much greedy for her presence in his everyday life that he chose to ignore her state and continue to deny her whenever she tried to leave him. He even gave deep ears to her heartful words because he could accept her fading affection towards him, but not her lack of presence in his life. Sitting on the sofa, Wyan took a deep breath. Then she started calling Jack, her bodyguard assigned by Taehyung. Jack! Jack! On the third call, he came there as he was outside the living room. Ma'am, you called me. Yes, Jack, I accidentally broke a glass bottle and it pierced through my foot. I have bandaged it but still need a doctor to see. Take me hospital. Vine said while clutching her bandaged foot. Just a minute, ma'am. Boss told us to let him inform if you go outside. Cursing under her breath, she irritatedly said, Ask your boss then. She looked away and Jack dialed Taehyung's number multiple times, but it was unreachable. Most probably he was busy in some important meeting. Jack helplessly looked at Vian, then debating with himself, he took her to hospital with other multiple bodyguards because at the end she was his boss's wife on top of the injured. Holding Jack's arms for support, Vian entered the hospital and went to ER. Fortunately, there wasn't much patients in the ER, so she went in the room fast. Obviously, Jack was standing outside the ER for privacy purpose. When she came out of the room, she handed Jack her prescription and told him to buy the mentioned medicine from the pharmacy. Jack obeyed her and went. She sat on the sitting area with other bodyguards. The corridor in which she was sitting was became soon chaotic as patients injured in car accident came. Staffs started to run here and there and the corridor got filled with more people. By the time the corridor got cleared, the bodyguards couldn't find Vian there. They got panicked and started to search the whole hospital. Taehyung's meeting got over, so he stick out his phone from his pocket and turned it on. It was a rule to switch off the mobile phones during important meeting like this, which happens once or twice a year. As soon as he opened his mobile, he saw multiple calls from Jack. He was about to call him, but he received call from Jack instead. He immediately picked it up. Sir, ma'am got kidnapped. What? Then Jack told everything to Taehyung. Collect the CCTV footage of hospital immediately. If I can't find my wife within evening, you all will face the consequences, morons. Barking at them, he cut the call and called his secretary Liam. Call the hackers, Liam. She has tracking device in her wedding ring. Track her down now. See, I have gotten cards ready for your departure to the hospital. Taeyang nodded and immediately went from there. Please be safe. Taeyang was looking into the CCTV footage of the hospital corridor. After looking into for a while, he saw Vine leaving hospital from the back side. She wasn't limping, considering the fact that her foot was bandaged because of the wound. That time, Liam also entered the room and told him he had found Vine's wedding ring in the trash area. He also handed the ring to Taeyang. After understanding everything, a sudden relief ran through him that Vian wasn't kidnapped, but it was short lived as he concluded she planned everything just so she could leave him. In rage, he clenched his fist in which her wedding ring was. On the other hand, sitting on the train seat, Vian was nervously clutching her purse. She had successfully tricked the bodyguards, even left her wedding ring at the hospital. She also left her mobile at house. It was very hard for her to leave her years of hard work, her certificates, her identity cards behind and ran away to a new place. In the new place, she had to erase this Vian and made her new identity. She had to do this to live. It would have been more easy if Taeyang willingly separated from her, but he didn't. So she had to choose this path. Before doing this, she had left a letter in their bedroom telling him to not look for her and also left her parents alone. She just hoped he would at least do this for her. She was busy in her thoughts when she felt someone sat too close to her. She moved to her side a little as there were some of empty seats beside hers in that train compartment. How far are you willing to go from me, Vian? Hearing the voice, she immediately looked at the source of it, and knowing very well whom this belonged to, her husband Kim Taehyung. Her eyes widened, seeing him. "Y- You, it took me more than 4 hours to find you because you didn't use your identity right and boarded a train. On the next station, we are getting down. Dare you to deny me or try to escape? I'm warning you, Ryan. I'm neither. Do you wanna create a scene here, nor do you wanna media's breaking news and humiliate mom and dad? And one more thing. Dare you to again throw your ring away? Saying this, he again made her wear the ring which was equal to Snake's grave for her now. Seeing his state, she chose to obey him as it was the most wise decision for that time being. Taeyang entered the house while holding Wine's wrist tightly and straight went to their shared bedroom. Anyone could tell by his face that how much angry he was that time. Locking the door, he left her wrist and roared, "What were you doing, Wine?" "Leaving you," she answered, matching his aura. Screaming, he threw the vase on the floor, breaking it into pieces. "Don't forget, Taeyang, I can also break things. My anger is much more violent than yours." Saying this, she threw the water glass which was on the night table. Closing his eyes, he ran his fingers through his hairs. He knew her words were not wrong. At least one of them now need to be calm and sane. "Do you even know what kind of thoughts came to my mind after hearing they couldn't find you? Do you know? I thought you were kidnapped. I thought I lost you, damn it." "That you already did, Taeyang, already." Both of their eyes were deeply looking into each other. "And the fear you were talking about?" Letting a dry chuckle, she said to him, "You have to face it every day, every minute, Taeyang, every second. You chose this path willingly. I am capable of protecting you, Vian. No one have the strength to keep you away from me. No one. I just don't want you to experience even a second of abduction." Vian looked away from him. There was a brief moment of silence. Why are you doing this, Vian?" You deceived me, Taeyang, more than 3 years. If I couldn't find out about you, then you would have continued to deceive me for whole life. You know, right? I was helpless. I. That's why I told you to leave me, Taeyang. I told you to go for the easy way. I didn't be delusional and told you to leave your illegal activities because if you were taking down your weapon, your opponent will point out the same to you that very same moment. Plus, this is happening through generation in your family. So be happy with your power and position. I am no one to tell you to step down from it. You think leaving you is the easy way? Yes, Thayang, it should be. Why? I just don't want a criminal to be my husband. I don't, Thayang. Is it too much for to ask? There was a pregnant pause. Did you even ever love me, Ryan? Did you? Both of them didn't dare to look away from each other's eyes. Both of their breathing rate was faster than usual. If you want it or not, I am your lawfully wedded husband and you are my lawfully wedded wife. And this will remain same until death does us apart, just like we vowed during our wedding. Saying this, he left from the house, not before ordering the guards to do their duty correctly and to not let her step out from there, as he knew if he stayed there any longer he would regret it later. After he left, Vine's knees got weak. She supported her back on the wall behind her. Then she slowly slided down and sat on the floor. One tear leaked from her eyes, then another, then one more, and her tears did not stop falling from her eyes anymore. Taehyung didn't come back that night, nor did he come back on the next morning. Previous days' events were too much for him to take in. He knew if he went back that time it would lead to another argument. So he waited some time for both of them to calm down. He entered his house in the evening all exhausted, both mentally and physically. He was about to go to kitchen to grab water when he saw the figure sitting on the living room sofa. His breath hitched seeing that. Vine was sitting on the sofa while wearing a maroon colored full sleeve long A-line dress. She wore red tone lip tint and blush. He also wore gold earrings with pearls. In one word, she was looking breathtaking. You came. Smiling softly, she asked him. He was too stunned to speak anything. I have told our cook to make your favorite food. Come upstairs, we are having dinner at our room only. Smiling at him, she got up and went upstairs. Unable to form any words, he followed her. Entering his own room, he couldn't believe it was real or not, as it was decorated with numerous flowers and candles. Sweet aroma of the candles were all around the room. Is today something special? No, Taeyang, today is not special, but still, will you have dinner with me? Hearing her soothing voice, he couldn't say no to her. See, go freshen up first then. Again he obeyed her. When he came back from the washroom, she served both of them dinner and both ate while listening to soft music. When he was done with the dinner, she got up and played the song Still With You. Singer's melodious voice filled the room with soothing background music. She went towards him and asked, extending her palm towards him. May I? Smiling softly towards her, he grabbed her palm. Both started to dance slowly while hearing the melody. His left hand was on her waist while her right palm was on his shoulder. His left hand was intertwined with his right one. Moving closer to him, she touched her nose with his. There was minimal gap between their lips. Both of their hot breath was touching each other's lips. Didn't matter who made the first move, but their lips met each other and they started to devour each other. Her fingers were already lost in his dark hairs, and his right palm was gently grabbing her neck. With her left hand, she guided his right palm to her earrings, indicating him to remove them. By the moment he knew she was asking him to take her to bed, and he did exactly that. After all, he was also wanted the same. Time skip. Both man and a woman in their late 20s were laying on their bed. Both of their previous clothes were discarded in the floor. Now they were lying only in their bath suit. Tangled up under the bed sheets, Her head was on his broad chest, and his hand was wrapped around her bare waist. Both were hugging each other. His eyes were closed. The atmosphere was peaceful. Taeyang, hmm? What do you think about death? During this peaceful hour, you were asking me about death. Didn't know my nurse wife has interest in philosophy. Opening his eyes a little, he said in his raspy voice, "Tell me, Taeyang, something very venomous. It tries to seduce everyone by its painful beauty. We want it, yet when come face to face with it, we lose all our courage and pray never to face it again. Still, every wing has to face it." "Now sleep, love, it's late." Saying this, he scooped her closer to him and patted her head lovingly. He was about to doze off when he felt wetness near his legs. He put his hand under the duvet and touched the wetness, and brought out his hand outside the duvet. With the help of dim light from the night lamp, he saw red color. "Wayan, your periods has started. Didn't you notice?" he asked, looking at her, who didn't say anything. He slowly got up from the bed and started to wear his joggers. He also brought her silk robe. "You go freshen up in the washroom. I will change the bed sheets. If you want, then I will bring the hot Taeyang." Hmm? He said while taking out the clean bed sheets from the cupboard. He didn't even need to seduce me. I willingly submit myself to him. Feeling weird after hearing her, he turned around and looked at her face. "Who?" Smiling brightly, she answered him. "Death." That's when he saw a stream of blood fill from the corner of her lips. Still, her smile didn't cease. The bedsheet fell from Taeyang's hand and he immediately went towards her. "Why him?" "And you know, it's very pleasurable. Very." She chuckled a little as more blood fell from her mouth. Taeyang cupped her face. "What's happening, Wayan?" He lifted the duvet and made her wear the silk robe. He lifted her in a bridal style and went outside while screaming for the bodyguards who were outside the mansion. On the way to the hospital, he kept mumbling, "She's gonna be okay." His eyes were teary and lips were trembling. She whimpered in a pain while her state got worse. Pressing her palm on his cheek, she said weakly, "Don't keep contact with my parents." His grip on her tightened as a tear leapt from his eyes. We love you, Thea, a lot. Just not your work." Sitting outside the OT, he restlessly looked at the door as doctors took her there some times ago. His chest and joggers were full of red patches. Jack and other bodyguards were there, witnessing their ever so cold, fearful boss's vulnerable state. A doctor came outside the OT with gloomy face and he stood up immediately. "The poison she took was too much powerful." "And you came here late. The fetus were already no more. When you brought her here, we tried to inject the antidote, but the bleeding was too much for her to survive. We are sorry." The doctor left and his body dropped on the chair. "The fetus were already no more. Too much for her to survive. We love you, Taeyang, a lot." More tears formed in his eyes and blurred his vision. He couldn't hold them back and wailed like a child.